ESL One Genting is brought to you in part by Xbox and Windows 10, Lenovo, Logitech G, NVIDIA, Digi, MSI, and Mineski Event Team.
Okay, here we go then. Welcome back to the Genting Highlands. We are 5,500 feet up in the sky, above the crowd, above the clouds even, while the crowd get ready in the Arena of Stars. We are headed into our first match of the day. I'm going to break it down on the desk for you. First up, it is Virtus.pro versus fnatic, and we'll start off by talking about Virtus.pro with our expert desk and expert panel here at the NVIDIA desk. Kevin, we spoke a little bit in the preview, obviously, of the show about their brilliance and the fact that they're such a great team. But that is really the core of this, isn't it? There's not one player that kind of stands out, makes all the moves. It is a really good team.
Yeah, you could talk to any person on the street, and they would pick a different member of VP. Yeah. And there's different times where one of them will have an amazing game, and others will just do okay, and then somebody else will pick up the slack. And you've seen MVPs from every single one of the roles. Both supports are fantastic. Every single one of their cores. They can do just about anything. Yeah,
if they have a disappointment though, Cap, it's obviously what happened in Boston. They went into that as red-hot favourites from many people's perspectives and failed. No bones about it, they failed. They didn't achieve what they should have achieved at that. How does that affect them now, or is this just such a completely different patch, new game, new year? Did they just shrug that off?
I mean, if you look at the history of Dota, the favorites of tournaments have oftentimes been upset, and that's just because Dota is such a strategical game that when everybody looks towards one team as being the best, then you're going to copy and you're going to start figuring out how to counter what they do, right? And I think in some ways this may be a relief that they are no longer the favorite that they were at Boston, and so maybe they're going to be able to reclaim some of that older magic that we saw towards the end of the year.
It needs to be said that the last game of theirs in Boston was a very odd draft. Bloodseeker, Sniper, Doombringer. It almost worked for them as well, if it wasn't for Sumail's brilliance, but you know, it was an odd draft. It's entertaining by all means. They picked a Bloodseeker, but still, I think they could have probably beat EG if they'd stuck to their guns.
You think they maybe got a little bit too out of their box?
Maybe they did, but I mean, look at that draft. That's a Theorycraft draft. They're ready for this, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, so one thing we talked about earlier is how no one, for instance, is this patch really suits him so very well for the mid lane pool of heroes. Queen of Pain, super good hero. Immortal when it hits 25 with the right item build. Ember Spirit with the change to everything. So good now as well with all the magic damage. It's actually
stupidly strong.
Straight up stupid. It's going to be a patch soon again. And then the Shadow Fiend as well can be played not as often as the other two, but it can still
much
be played
more often than at the end of the last patch for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like those three heroes is something that no one has sort of, like, that was his claim to fame, playing that great Shadow Fiend, the great Queen of Pain, and he's picked up the Ember Spirit because the other two weren't in the meta.
Yeah, I think no one's long been looked at, or at least over the last year and a half, is he's been looked at as one of the players coming out of CS who is exceptional at that 1v1 in the mid lane. So all the heroes that Jacob is mentioning, they're extremely good at that, and I think that that aspect may allow no one to... I already thought that he was like, you asked me during the rehearsal, you know, who was your best player from VP, and I said no one, just because I felt like he did not get enough press, right?
Well, what about Ramses?
Yeah,
and then Purge said, well, what
we all have different ideas,
exactly,
right?
And that's the perfect team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think no one in that case is going to get even more of a boost in this patch, not just because of the heroes that are available to him, but also because of VP's fighting style and the way he's able to fight so aggressively to be able to create space for Ramses.
Okay, so move on. We're going to talk about our second team in this first game in the group. It is, of course, fnatic. I think we might have a few fnatic fans in the house tonight as well. Yeah, we do. Plenty of home support here.
I heard one.
It's a tall order, this one, though, Jacob. You've been through a few team changes before. We've swapped out one or two, maybe three sometimes. It's tough, isn't it, when you first come to a LAN?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the hardest task they can possibly get. It's a new patch, but against one of the teams that would probably be favorites in it, and a team that has been on a hot streak leading up to this tournament. So I think all odds are against fnatic. That being said, they're coming out from a clear underdog perspective. They can only upset, and I think they can ride that momentum. There's no real expectations to them. There's just a lot of support and hope, especially from the home crowd, but from the world in general. Like, in your dream, in my dream, he's really, really good. Because if he is, the best tournaments historically have been when Mushi's team is going deep in the tournament. Like TI3 he ran deep, TI5 he ran deep, I think.
Relatively.
And those have been some really, really standout tournaments where he's been a part of that whole storyline because of the team around him in Ohio.
You also have some history with one of the members in this team.
Well, Yamate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we faced off a good amount of times in Dota 1. I think he always succeeded and I failed miserably, so no surprise there.
No
Story
birds.
that set the stage for the rest of your life. I'm
Yeah, I see. I knew there's a burn in there somewhere, and Cap delivered. Brilliant. On a serious note, though, Purge, I'm going to try and give them something to hang on to. The fact that it is a new patch and no one has figured it out just yet, and these guys maybe don't have the team chemistry just yet, but is that not a bonus for them heading into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you guys are underselling them a little bit. I mean, the first match is a best of one. It's against arguably one of the best teams in their group. They could put them into lower bracket of the group stage, win that, maybe win their next best of 3. They've got really good talent. Febi's fantastic as well. We barely talked about him, but he's been successful on MVP for like 2 years now. I think they can get stuff done here. And you know, the first week of a team usually referred to as the honeymoon period either way. And
I don't think it's that we're underselling them. It's just they're going up against accomplished teams who have set lineups with 2 completely fresh players that we have no idea how well will perform on their roles. Yamate has never played support historically, and In Your Dream is just a player we know nothing about.
I do say that I think that if Fnatic is going to be a successful team, if they're going to be a tier 1 strong team, then I think it's going to be off the back of Febi. I think that that guy is the only guy who could actually make this team work from a support position. I think they are going to definitely need a playmaking support that is able to make things happen and create space for Ohio and Mushi. I don't know what In Your Dreams playstyle is like. I don't know if he's super aggressive or he's a little bit more form-oriented, but I can say just for Mushi and Ohio that I think you need a playmaking support to absolutely make sure that the 15-minute mark is not lost.
Yeah. Jacob, those 2 players that we've just mentioned, Mushi and Ohio, there's a lot of pressure on them here.
There is, I think, one thing we talked about earlier as well in the rehearsal that Austin brought up was the fact that Mushi has been consistently good throughout. He had I think his only slight slump was when he was playing the 4th position. It wasn't all as successful. They forced a lot of Omni Night games that weren't that good and such stuff. But other than that, historically he's been really, really good. Ohio's fallen off a bit. He was known to be one of these great offlaners, top 3 in the world at one point. And now we haven't seen that same level, especially when they went out of the Boston Major qualifier. So he has a lot to prove for himself, because we know the level is there. He just hasn't lived up to it.
I think back in the day, Ohio was innovating things in the offlane. I watched him and I was just, he was my favorite offlaner at that point in time. So for me personally, it's been rather disappointing watching him fall from those ranks. I think that he's nowhere near the top 3 position that I would have placed him back.
Do you feel that he's not necessarily fallen off in a direct cliff, but he's had moments of heat where he's got better again, or maybe that particular patch has suited him and he's had good periods, so it's been a bit up and down, or do you feel like it literally has been falling off again?
I don't think I see the same moments of brilliance that I felt. Maybe that's just because everyone else has gotten a lot better, and even if Ohio has gotten better as a player, right, everyone else has, maybe exceeded that, but I think in the world of offlaners, right, I look at heroes, I look at players like Faith Beyond. I look at, for this tournament, I think Moonmeander is a great offlaner, right? Really aggressive. We talked about MSS earlier. It's an offlaner that we've seen in the past who has managed to make so many things happen. And with this offlane patch, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities to shine. We have all these opportunities. I think Ohio, we've seen what he can do in the past, but I haven't seen any real glimmers of that since the last 2 or 3 years.
Could be his patch, though.
I mean, it could be. There's a lot of stuff that could be happening. It could just be that the last couple teams he was on didn't really favor his playstyle. Well, the one thing that I always felt he was amazing at was perfect initiations, knowing exactly when it was the right moment to punish and initiate, drop a stun on somebody, and have your team follow up. And there hasn't been, offlane hasn't been that straightforward in a long time, maybe 2 years, where the offlaner's clear mixture is blink in, stun people, and the fight starts. It's a lot more dynamic than that now.
Okay, we are ready to introduce you to our 2 teams. So ladies and gentlemen, let's head over to the main stage with Eri.
Malaysia, make some noise. Are you ready? For ESL One Genting! Let them hear you, come on! Here we go, we're about to get started. Welcome to Resorts World Genting at the Arena of Stars. You guys kicking off an amazing tournament, starting up. Are you guys excited? How do you guys like patch 7? How do you guys like it? You like it? Yeah? Yeah, I know about the HUD. Relax, sit down, sir. We're fine. You're good? You're hype? Ready? We'll find the shop, don't worry. Meepo, in the house, excited to do this. Oh, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you for our first match today. Are you guys feeling the hype? Are you ready to do this biggest tournament in the history of Malaysia? Ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Our first team for your first match here for ESL One Genting. We have Virtus.pro! Malaysia, let's get the energy up in here. Come on. I want to hear you guys make some noise. Come on. There you go. Because we got their opponents. We have Malaysia. We have fnatic.
There we go then. Both teams on the stage, about to head to their desks to get ready for game number 1 of ESL One Genting 2017. I think the biggest trouble they're finding right now is where the seats are, Jacob.
I love watching Virtus.pro go on stage. Lil is the one person I've ever met with more self-confidence than me. He is so full of himself, and I love it. It's great.
Have you seen his Instagram? Sure. It's filled with selfies and half-naked pictures, man.
Half-naked?
Yeah.
Oh, Jacob's
I thought you would have been all over that.
Jacob's signing up already. We're going to move into the draft very shortly, which gives Kevin the perfect platform. Not 9 hours, Kevin, okay? Just please,
right.
bring it back in for us. But this is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. Hopefully it doesn't get too... I'm scared with the best of ones that teams will be like pulling into their safe zone, whatever worked best for them in their scrims. But that's what we're going to see. Yeah. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Slardar is the only hero that I expect to get picked. Yeah. Everything else, no idea.
I suppose someone actually said to me yesterday, are we going to see cheesy picks? And I was like, actually, it's all cheese right now.
Kind of, yeah.
Because you just don't know anymore whatever comes out.
There hasn't been enough time for people to figure out item builds. I mean, even if an OP hero comes into a patch, people don't figure out what's really strong about them. It's usually, a certain item build with a certain playstyle is what makes a hero strong. But we haven't even had time to compare item builds to skill trees and how that allows to change things. So there actually needs to be more pub time for them to figure out what actually is cheesy.
Plenty of fun being had between the players right now. We should also mention that there are 4 heroes not in or not available. Jacob, do you want to have a stab?
Monkey King?
Wow, what a shock.
Your turn,
Necrophos.
Techies. And
Paul, what have we had?
Monkey King, Necrophos, Techies, and...
You got this one.
Ow! Lycan.
I said it like 8 times.
Lycan. Yeah, no, I brought that up yesterday when we were arguing over about it. Yeah. So we have 4 that aren't in there, unfortunately. I kind of, sort of sad, but not sad, because I've played a couple of pubs where I got battered by some of these heroes. Great pub heroes, right?
Monkey King especially.
Necrophos, strong.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Techies too, though.
Yeah.
Techies is
I haven't
strong.
played that many games.
I played that hero recently. I've never laughed harder playing Dota solo. Oh my god, it was actually so much fun. I'm going to start playing that hero in ranked, actually.
Which one?
That hero is so much fun. Techies?
Techies, yeah.
It was like, it reckoned me back to my old days of playing Techies and back in Dota 1. I never played it in Dota 2 because it felt so cancerous, but Dota 1, I remember picking up Blink Dagger and just blink suiciding on some guy, and he would come to lane again, and I would just blink suicide on him again, and just make his life, miserable. That was so much fun for me back then, and now it's kind of like that.
So my prediction would be that the most contested hero or banned hero would be Ember Spirit. I just feel like that hero is absolutely ridiculous right now.
Interestingly, I'm going to go with Spirit Breaker.
What?
Oh, gotta read
I am not as optimistic about Kevin as
You're not optimistic about Kevin?
as
I'm not
well-rounded
optimistic about Kevin
and how many
Kevin's
opportunities
definitely
there
not-
are for
not
these very
well-rounded.
heroes. I am much more pessimistic, and I'm gonna be like, there's gonna be a lot of Quaps and Ember Spirits,
Yeah.
Lunas and Shadow Demons.
Oh,
Like there's maybe some SFs. I think here and there. I think the Axe is actually pretty decent. The occasional don't bring up that meme, Paul. Come on, that's a bad meme. I think there are going to be. What are some of the big supports that have been picked a lot? I
Well, you
think
mentioned the
Rubik's
Shadow
pretty
Demon. With this particular team, Lil on the visits is something we can see. It was luckily nerfed in 7.0. Otherwise, we might as well have just called it a day and given VP the trophy. I think on the offlane is where we're going to see the most versatility. But I do think, and this is just based off my pub experience, I do think Tidehunter is a really, really strong hero right now. It fits the timing of the meta really well. He can farm up pretty well without, when he's zoned from the lane, he can still just take out the neutrals and everything like he's always been able to. And he just dictates the early 5-man aggression.
The reason Jacob keeps going back to Tidehunter is that it was actually in 100% of his pub games, 2 for 2.
Really? I'm astonished that he's even managed to win 2 games. Kevin?
Oh, I didn't win either.
He didn't win,
Oh, you didn't
but
win-
they were in the
oh,
game.
I thought you meant 2 for 2.
No,
like,
absolutely not.
Right, gotcha. Okay, Kevin, I'm really interested in your theory crafting because you love this. You
I do.
put together
My
these
favorite.
kind of how the hell does it fit together? What works together? What is your initial gut feeling that we're going to see?
I mean, I think Cap has a decent point. There could be a lot of comfort picks, things that people played a lot in the pubs, play things that you're expecting other people to draft. But it all depends on how confident they are. Like, for example, Fnatic is the underdog in this match. They may go something a little bit more YOLO, whereas VP may stick to the standard stuff, some typical draft that's maybe a little reminiscent of the previous patch, and all they've really done is adapted to the new map and slightly to talent trees. I think the teams that are ahead are going to go a little bit more standard, and the other teams may try to pull something out that they think is genuinely good, and it may just completely fall flat.
Okay, top 3 picks, do you think?
I heard Knoxville say Slaughter was the highest win rate of the patch so far, but there haven't been a lot of games, only some. And in a lot of ways, he's the better fish than Tide because he does allow you to initiate multiple times in a fight, and you don't have to worry about something like a Ravage cooldown. And he normally has a lot of trouble offlaning because he needs a dual offlane, but now he's got a Shrine, so even if he does have a bit of a bad start, hit the Shrine right away, it'll be refreshed in like 6 minutes or whatever it is, and then back to lane.
Yeah, that's one of the keys you mentioned earlier on about the Shrine is that it does change which heroes are strong in specific lanes, specifically the offlane.
Yeah, I think the offlane definitely got a big boost because of the fact that you always have that fallback. You also have a bounty rune to be able to rely on. There is still some potential to do some things with Iron Talon if they keep a really defensive tri-lane. You really just can't get in there. I think there are a lot of opportunities for the offlane to be the most interesting to look at. Also the 4 position. I think the 4 position and your early roaming impact is also going to be pretty important. Heroes like Pudge, I think that was the other support that I felt like was so strong in pubs, just because Rot with its movement speed slow, like it was good in the last patch, but I think it's potentially even better now, thanks in part to his talent trees. So,
if we look at the carry position, Austin brought up the whole Shadow Demon Moonrider thing. No news there. Luna is super good, always has been. Another hero that's always been super good, Slark. I think Slark is probably the best he's ever been. Sadly, because I hate the hero with a passion.
Pretty much everyone else does too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually
Cap is
not
a
as
secret.
optimistic
He's
about
a secret
Slark.
Slark lover.
No,
There's a lot of magic resistance
I'm
perks.
definitely not. I don't know. I kind of disagree. At least in my experience and the couple of people I've talked to, it seems like Slark isn't as strong as maybe he was in the past. It's like I think you need either a hero that's going to be able to push better, or you need a hero that's going to be able to fight better. Right, so I think you need like Juggernaut or Gyrocopter if you want to be fighting more, and I think you need like a Luna, even potentially Terrorblade, Drow Ranger, like those kind of heroes. I think you still, because of the shrines, I think you want to be able to take control of the game early, like super early, and because of all the 5-manning, I think Slork has a hard time being able to find the openings of the pickoffs.
So you're focusing on lane pushing and team fighting and...
Yeah, I think it's all about 5-manning and being able to push down towers. I think those are like the 2 biggest elements.
And you can't even kill shrines anymore until you have all the tier 2s dead. So
Yeah.
Slark's gank advantage that he normally has is even harder because people can support TP to shrines, usually before the 30-minute mark, even if one team's really dominating. So there's a lot of things not really going his way. More gold perks as well, more gold to buy sentries and dust. There's a lot of things going bad towards Invis heroes.
I think it's very difficult for teams to recover from having their shrines taken away. If you've lost all your tier 2s and the shrines are gone, I think you lose so much map control, and the enemy team has so much, because even if you've taken some of their tier 1s and even a couple of tier 2s, those shrines are still there. They're still so aggressively pushed forward, right, that they have so much map control because of that, and you just have so little because you've lost yours that it's like night and day, right? You just, every single time you go outside your base, you have to be able to prepare for some sort of 5-man team fight, and if you win that, congrats, you get farming time now. You get to be able to spread around the map, do some farm efficient things, maybe even take an objective. But if you don't, then you're just like, boom, you're back inside your base again. They're pushing high ground.
Is that not when the aggressive teams can pay dividends? Because I've seen a few games online. Admittedly, some of it was a slideshow, but I could tell what they were doing. And actually, one of the interesting things was when they lost the tier 2s and the shrines. That team then went, okay, it's all out now. We have to just kill their tier 2s, otherwise we've lost the game. It's almost like a different position that they were in. They've suddenly thought, we've now got to go aggressive, even though they've been backing off.
Yeah,
they were then taking risks to get rid of the shrines. So there's an extra element of that, because like you say, if they lose control, that's it, they're done.
Yeah, it's that animal that gets backed into a corner, right?
Yeah.
Like they see the end. They see like, we have no map control, we don't really have good ways to be able to farm. Like they're able to play really farm efficient, or they're able to get things like Roshan and go high ground and threaten the end of the game. We have to push out into them. We have to do something.
Which is why 7-0-1 is going to punish teams that play nervous, that play safe in a way, if they're getting pushed back, and never come back out fighting.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you do need to contest even some of the tier 1 pushes. I think you have to be very specific about the trade-offs that you make. If you're trading away a tower and you're not gaining one for yourself, then you need to really think about what you're gaining for that. Are you getting a key item pickup? Are you getting a key level pickup that is going to allow you to team fight the next tower? Because you only have a minute maybe before the team goes ahead and pushes down another tower, and you're forced to actually make that defense. So
Speaking of timing, something we haven't talked about is the change. One of the changes to the talent trees is a lot of heroes has reduced death timer, or they can opt to have it. Do you think it's worthwhile taking over some of the stats? I see in some of my games, especially the support heroes, they take these reduced death timers and they just get out so very fast again.
There's a lot of good benefits.
Jakiro is one of those. I mean, we also said, Kevin, as well, back at TI, that actually, I think Blitz was the one that came up with it, with the idea that it was low cooldown meta. You pick lots of heroes that have got low cooldown. This could almost come back around, couldn't it?
In some ways, if you're expecting to die at the start of the fight, it can be really good. But the benefit that I'm seeing is, especially warding time, the best time to wards are usually after team fights, but if you die, you're not going to be up in time. If you're the first to respawn, you can usually push out a wave or two. There should be a wave closer to your tower. That could be extra gold with the supports. With that said, though, in pubs, statistically, they haven't been good perk-wise. The players that are grabbing those reduced cooldown or those reduced death timer perks are actually losing more often than the opposite.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But we'll see what happens in the pro scene.
Feed faster.
I'm hearing that we will be ready for the draft momentarily. One of the things we haven't spoken about, and there are so many things we could speak about in 7.01, is the change of the map and the fact that Roshan has now changed. Have you seen much impact in the games that you've played so far?
I believe the Radiant
is super value.
It's been a lot higher, and it's kind of interesting to say why, but maybe their secret shop's easier to defend, I would say, than the Dire one. The Dire one has way more ways into it. It's basically that one entrance for the Radiant, with the exception of going through Ancients. That's maybe one of the biggest advantages.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be like the previous patch. Ancient farming was very key. Especially in certain points, in certain strategies, ancient farming was very important. It's not going to be as important, but still defending that part because now instead of ancient farming, right, you have ancients as well as two neutrals. Say you look at the Radiant side, right, and so it still becomes an important area to be able to defend. And I think the Radiant side is definitely much harder to be able to get into. And then the Dire side advantage was supposed to be Roshan, but now that's a lot more evened out, especially because the offlane has more power. Radiant is going to value their offlane tier 1 tower, their shrine, their tier 2, their tier 1 mid, a lot more because of the proximity to Roshan, and in general just because of the map control.
Another thing about that, would you say that the Dire jungle camps are a little bit more spread out? I feel like they're harder to go from camp to camp to camp to farm, whereas on Radiant side, I feel they're a little bit more grouped in the Radiant jungle.
Yeah, I think so. I also feel like from a support position, I've always felt better about aggressively warding in Dire jungle and defensively warding in Radiant jungle. I feel a lot better about my defensive Radiant wards than I do on Dire side. I feel like my defensive Dire wards really just do not get enough done.
Yeah.
The couple words that are there are very obvious, I think.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, that side of the map I feel changed more heavily than the Radiant side. Therefore, people are more comfortable, most likely, placing wards in Radiant. So, I mean, we could see tons of developments and just basic meta stuff. Where do you put your wards? Another big one, I think, will be defending of shrines. It's very common in pubs, at least. You lose your tier 2s, people go straight for the shrines, and you just let them. But now you can do things like they take your tier 2, everyone TPs to your shrine and sets up a trap. I can't wait to see stuff like that happen here.
I think what was another big change that we were talking about earlier this morning?
What about just like bottle and bounty runes and stuff like that? Just there's a lot more regen on the map as a whole.
Yeah, I think bottles got a lot more value because of especially offlane, because it's so fight heavy, right? And the offlaners that you pick up, say Clockwork, is really value right now.
Yeah, you mentioned it before. This could be a big hero in this match.
Yeah, I think there are certain heroes that are definitely more value. I think
even
Slardar,
only
Legion
2 bottom
Commander.
charges?
Even with it's more of the fact that some of these heroes can pick up bottle, and because of their roaming, right, they're able to stay efficient because of both the shrines and the bounty runes that are always available to you, as well as potentially an actual rune. Like, you can just stay on the map, and if you get a successful gank, you don't have to back up anymore, right? You can just kind of keep going, and in part that is because of the bounty rune changes.
Lots of changes to look forward to. Hopefully the draft isn't too far away. You saw the Fnatic players in a huddle on the stage. They were getting themselves set in position. As we move towards this draft now, I've already asked you in terms of composition, but are we going to see anything crazy happen? And I mean by that, are we going to see lane changing? Are we going to see potentially maybe not 2 supports?
Oh yeah, what do you think about that theory crafting?
Yeah, that's been...
Swapping the safe lane and off lane.
I haven't even seen anything like that.
Yeah,
it's definitely
people
a possibility.
theory crafted about it, but I did not see it in execution at all.
I haven't seen any games, but I've been reading a lot of players talking about it.
I mean, it's pretty defensible, right? If you're Radiant offlane, they come up the river, you could ward to protect that. Otherwise, they'd have to go through your secret shop. The shrine's a lot closer as well, so if you're having a tough time, it's probably better to go in aggro. That way you have shrine advantage and they don't.
I think aggro tri-lanes are going to see a lot of value. I don't think we're going to switch the meta necessarily, but I do think aggro tri-lanes are going to be a lot more value, and safe lane carries are going to abandon their lanes a lot earlier, just because the necessity. You know, that was already set several patches ago, but I think there's more incentive for you to abandon your safe lane and move into the off lane and play aggressively after maybe 5-10 minutes.
Okay, well, one of the big predictions on this desk was that we would have a Slardar, and it's come true in pick one.
This is a funny thing, right? Look at Fnatic's ban, Shadow Demon and Luna. That's the thing, is Luna is so strong right now, it doesn't require Shadow Demon.
First pick Rubik into a jugger with lifesteal on Slardar. This is very interesting already, Kevin.
Very good tempo for Fnatic once they get Blink Dagger on Slardar. Like Lifesteal or Slardar bombs constantly around the map.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the most powerful combinations in Dota right now, just because you're instantly able to eliminate a hero. I think one of the other great things about Lifestealer is that he is very good self-sustain, so supports can leave the safe lane pretty early and start roaming and having impact on the mid and the off lane, because the off laner in general is stronger against those supports because he has a shrine, because he has a bounty rune, right? So the supports are going to feel less effective, more inclined to start roaming out. So you want a carry that is able to have some sort of self-sustain, which comes in with the lifesteal. And he's also, I think, what some people have called kind of a dead hero. He creates this lane where it's very hard to gank because of the natural magic immunity that he's able to offer. The same exact thing for Juggernaut, why he was run mid so often, because we had so much roaming that was going on. Juggernaut mid was awesome because what the hell are you going to do as a support? He just you start trying to go for that gank and you throw a magic missile or something, and he just spins and walks back, you know?
But there's nothing new about these picks. It wasn't at all as we expected, right? Slardar Lifesteal has been potent for 6 months now, even more, probably all of 2016. Juggernaut, probably one of the most stable carries we've seen throughout 2016. So 7.0 hasn't changed anything. In fact, I think his talent tree makes him slightly stronger the later the game goes than he was before. Rubik, a great support. Definitely something we've seen a lot of the past 6 months.
I think Rubik got a lot of value with his, in part because of his passive, even just the level 1, but leveling it even later and just going 1-4-4. Because there's so much fighting, having extra magic armor is really value. And all the steals in this game are quite good.
So the change from Boston is the only thing that really stands out to me here is the 2 initial bans, the Meepo and the Underlord ban. Yeah. Everything else is almost scripted from before 7.0. We have SD Luna bans, we have Ogre Riggy bans, now we didn't have a Legion and a Centaur ban. Even the Legion ban could be argued was decent against some lineups prior to 7.0. So far there's nothing new.
Yeah, nothing too weird. I'm a little scared for VP because of all the physical damage and minus armor coming from Fnatic right now, but I mean, Helm of the Dominator, very popular in many carries right now. They could just grab an early Frost or Ice Troll, whatever it's called, for Frost armor.
Ice Ogre.
Solves a lot of issues. But there's a lot of ways the draft could go. I think the Ogre ban is not too surprising. Both teams would love to have that extra amp, but an Earth Spirit pick here that fell out of favor a bit, but
This year's very popular May to sort of TI.
I've heard a lot of pros say it's coming back now, that in 7.0 it's going to be good again. A lot of teams are practicing it again.
I think this hero has particular value against the Slardar and Lifestealer combination because of the fact that you have this stun that is this line stun that travels through this hero, right? If Slardar makes the initiation, if you can get the kick, you can potentially stun both of them as Lifestealer pops out because he has this small little window where he's not raged up.
and same with Silence, really. You can just jump on Lifestealer and stop him that way. I do really like the bounty pick, though. It's something Febi's been playing a lot, and I'm looking at it in terms of Lifestealer plus Slaughter. That's two already very fast heroes, sometimes getting kited. If you throw track on top of that, if those guys get a little too overfarmed and they jump on Virtus.pro, they should have a really good team fight going.
Yeah, there's no running away from Fnatic now, and as you were saying, Febi, when MVP was at their most dominant era, it was on the back of his bounty hunter, so it's no surprise. The only surprise will be if he's not playing it.
I think this is one of the few times that I think most of the time offlaners right now need to be some sort of blink initiator. But in this case, right, you already have such a potent combination between Slardar and Lifestealer, and Fnatic have potentially exposed a serious weakness in their lineup with the Bounty Hunter pick. It's good, yes, but it also is a hero that has classically been very poor against 5-man. So I think that Bounty Hunter and Riki have some value in this patch because of how hard it is to ward and how valued it is to get aggressive wards down. But they do have a serious weakness in that they don't provide a whole lot into the 5-manning. That is going to be so prevalent in this meta, and Omni is obviously one of the best offlaners you could have when it comes to a 5-man team fight and being able to respond to aggression like Slardar or Lifestealer is hoping for.
Fnatic's damage right now is completely one-dimensional, and Omni Knight really counters that. I'm not a huge fan of the Omni Knight pick normally, but here it just stops their whole lineup.
It's amazing. Everything that he has works well against them.
Yeah, they needed some kind of magic damage. That could be their mid hero. Keep in mind, raindrops did get a little nerfed, not a huge amount, but possibly enough to make a difference here.
So I was wondering why they both opted to wait for the middle lane. Is there already an established pecking order?
If there is, it's all private because it's all scrims, right? There's been way more private games that have happened than public ones, especially with
I mean, they've been doing that for most of the year. I think leaving mids till late.
Well, we were arguing how Ember Spirit and Queen of Pain both seem really strong right now, and neither of them have been picked up. Maybe it's because there's so many strong heroes in the middle lane.
Yeah,
that there's been no
much
need
deeper
to.
range of heroes.
And Lina might be one of those good counters for it, because by all means, I think she beats the crap out of Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend.
It's a decent against Dragon lane as well. He can't spin every time you cast Dragon Slave or throw a stun.
Yeah.
And remember, if it's not mid, then it's going to be some sort of weird, like kind of hard 5, hard 4 position Lina. But Solo was easily one of the best Linas. I wonder if Fnatic are going to take a bit of a page out of that old book where they used to have, Solo used to be this 4 position who would farm. Like just constantly as a support. He would push out waves, he would get really, really far, and he would actually become this 3rd core. Maybe Fnatic is going to take a page out of that book from Solo back in the days, and they're going to play this Lifestealer Slardar very aggressive, very gank heavy, right? And this will free up space. You can't just, constantly have this gank squad and not actually have a hero farming, right? So Lina could be that support that takes over that position, that managed to get a lot of more farm time, and then I expected more of a scaling mid, but Templar Assassin.
Okay. It's more minus armor.
Yeah, that's pretty all in, I feel.
It's very interesting. I actually thought you were way off base with the support, but I think you nailed it here. With the TA pick, it seems clear it's a Lina support. So.
Actually, I think he was on point with the whole Lina argument and her farming up. You have the
I agree with that part.
Oh, okay. Well,
I definitely agree with that part. Definitely farming while those two are ganking is fantastic, but I guess she's kind of vulnerable here, but at least if she's in the support position, the ganks won't necessarily come towards her, is one of the good parts. And I would say Lina plus Bounty, that's a really good 2-hero roaming combo, actually, unless you have like a blink or something. And right now, Fnatic just has a lot of good damage options in the late game. They're very synergistic, whereas VP looked so good with the Omni pick, but now I'm feeling a little bad for them.
Is Viper like? I'm thinking of mids that would beat down Templar Assassin that would also be strong versus Lifestealer Slaughter. But I'm trying to think of how Viper would stand up well against Lifestealer naturally, but the Slaughter Lifestealer combination, the minus armor that comes in, is
he gets run over.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Did not expect that.
Instead, we're going to go with an OD.
So they can at least save whoever gets initiated on. That's maybe their goal here. And repel plus that, he can maybe just kill heroes.
I mean, if you look at Fnatic, right, we said they're very all in one strategy, and that strategy is get a numbers advantage real quickly, pop a hero, OD and Omni Knight counter that brilliantly.
All right, thank you all three of you. We are ready for our first game of the day, which means we'll head down to the commentary desk for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Toby One and Malini.
Thanks a lot. It's fantastic to be casting ESL One once again. I'm here with the wonderful Malini. It's a fresh patch. It's a fresh time. VP, obviously a big favorite coming into this tournament, but does Fnatic have what it takes to actually push back and in this best of one win?
I think it depends a lot on their mid player. We haven't seen too much of him.
Yeah, we really haven't. Like, we're going back through his history, but there's almost none of it for this patch. In fact, there is none of it for this patch. None of it with this team due to it being announced only just yesterday. But it's a new time, and we already have our first smoke break. They trigger the dust. Ohio, they realize it's over in the trees. Ohio's on the run. Pick up by Rubik, dropping him back down again. The spinny's too far away. Ohio still with Sprintok, going to be on cooldown for 6 seconds, but he might have the movement speed. TP scroll is down, but can he actually get away? And away from this team, you look for that pickup from Solo. He's going to be the next one with that telekinesis grab in 6 seconds with a rock forward. Lil in the position, but Ohio gets purified. Down to earth. There will be no one who actually finds the last hit. And Virtus.pro, a little bit of shenanigans from Fnatic, trying to contest that early bounty rune and position.
So that was a smoke and a dust, and Lil, that was a close rolling boulder. That was a hard one to hit. Slardar even tried to sidestep it a little bit. At least they got that ward down. Solo standing close to it, but no sentry.
Well, in your dream, trying to force Lil off that top bounty.
I didn't see who ended up getting it.
How do I? They actually removed the pop-ups for that one. Oh, that's a shame.
It'd just be spamming your thing all the time, Toby.
Just removing information, which is critical. But the other wards which we look to see, just aggressive wards around the shrines. Cap was pointing that one out during the time of the panel at the start of the day. Just talking about that positional play. Realize the rotations, look to the offlaners, and no one, well, you can look to him being just harassed a little bit at the very, very start. Febby does have that Orb of Venom, and then, well, Lil's going to come straight back in, rolling boulder forward. Any kind of opening? Not really. This is just harassment for the moment, early rotations, and just try and get some control in the lanes.
I wonder where Bounty Hunter is going to try and focus in on in these lanes. He doesn't actually have any clarities and can't do too many shadow walks at this point. Top lane is very difficult to gank. Pasha just sitting back his Omni Knight healing creeps. And Lil is ready to roam in between mid and top just in case Bounty Hunter pops out anywhere.
Well, the timing for it might be a little bit right, because Febby is obviously still on the rotation too. But Lil's doing is, okay, well, they start over on Pasha. Pasha doesn't have any help with the Light Strike array from Yamate. He's able to hold down Pasha. They have enough damage before he gets back in range of the tower. Yes, they do. Fnatic will find the kill. There was no creep wave because Lil was doing a pull through with the rolling boulder just for efficiency on that top lane, and left his off lane is stranded.
Yeah, I haven't seen that pull before. That one's a pretty difficult one to pull. The leash range is really, really short on those creeps. But that would explain why they were so aggressive on the Omni Knight.
Yep. Fnatic have to keep it up. Give more space over to Mushi, whose CS isn't looking that terrific at the moment. In fact, the only person CS who's looking really great at the moment is down on bottom lane. Is Ramsey at 11 for 4. The OD's also having a pretty good time. So the mid as well as the safe for VP are in a nice position, and Fnatic have to do something more about this. Obviously, the Templar Assassin's going to hit a bit of a power spike in a bit when she's able to have a bottle finally. But Yamate needs more CS to make this happen.
Yeah, I think Ramses is just getting way too much out of that offlane. Ohio hasn't really been able to contest him yet at all. And Pasha at least has a few CS up on that top lane as the Omni.
Nice little perk for In Your Dream. The fact that he doesn't actually have enough money for the bottle, moved back with Febby to trigger off the shrine. So they do it nice and early around the 2.5 minute mark, just so they can get aggressive again onto No One. But No One, quick on the imprisonments, and it's never really a 2-on-1 scenario when you got that imprisonment up.
I think Dire mid lane is slightly more favored than Radiant just because of the ease of access to the shrine. I think it's just a slightly longer trek over to the Radiant side. And Radiant side, you can no longer really do that Ancient Camp too easily. It's way more recessed into the trees.
Yeah, the Radiant said they try and focus onto bottom lane. Seeing that small little posturing coming out from Solo with his Rubik. All he wants to do is just get that telekinesis grab on Ohio and drag him back in range of Ramsey's spin. Now Febby might be in a little bit of trouble in that bottom river area. The pickup is there. They have enough damage. There is an invis in time. And Solo will find that pick on the roaming support.
Yeah, they're not really getting too many levels up on the Bounty Hunter and the Slaughter. I think these are the two key heroes for them. Like, TA can always catch up through Ancients, Lifestealer can catch up through just infesting anyone, but he needs people to move around with him at this point. And Ohio, he's getting his levels, level 4, hoping to just evade the spin with max movement speed.
Kind of interesting to watch the way Ohio's been approaching this bottom lane. At times he just comes out to even just crush Ramsey so he can find just 1 or 2 last hits. Solo, Febby's going to try and have a contest for the rune. Solo, well, okay, don't think he really meant to start that TP, but Febby right behind him. There's not enough slow. The pickup on Ohio. Sprint is there, which means the crush me there with a kick. Lil catches both of them. The rolling boulder forward, slowing him down. Ohio will now have to crush the Earth Spirit. Not the target he wanted to do. Solo doesn't have anything really to help out with, so Lil will have to sacrifice himself for the cause. Normally it's Solo that does this, but in this case it had to be Lil.
Not worth saving the Rubik's life there. Especially if BH got the bounty.
Have another crack up on top lane. Mushi waited quite nicely. Actually looked like he's going to start up the open wounds, but then Repel just came out too early. No way to kill that 3-position Omni.
Yeah, they don't actually have any instant cast to deal with that, which is slightly problematic when you're versus a Juggernaut and an Omni Knight.
Is that where you start to like wonder where the Lina really fits into this position too?
I think they just want her to follow up on the Slardar, and also as a way to pierce their double magic immunity later if she gets a Scepter. But that's kind of a problem with Lina. If she's in a support role, she usually doesn't have enough for the Scepter. And looking at her talents, it doesn't actually look like any of them will help her in that quest.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Ohio was having a bit of a poke around mid, hoping for some kind of opening, but didn't really find it. The OD was up, but not really far enough. We're almost trying to bait him to go underneath the tower. And instead it's going to be the mid lane. The OD Imprisonment's going to be there. Setting up, Febby actually repositioned himself perfectly. Tanked up the rolling boulder that came in from Lil, but In Your Dream, does he have enough time? Does he have enough mana? Does he have enough life for the Fairy Fire? Back behind the Tier 1 tower, here comes Ohio. He started off with a crush, just forcing VP a little bit further back out. Febby also under the cover of Invis, so he's safe for the moment. And the rest of fnatic have managed to bail out. TP's down the bottom lane. Ramsey's going after Yamate. That spin already being used means that Yamate should be able to have a stun if he can get off, but no, quick Omni Slash. Dodges the Light Strike array. Ohio didn't arrive in time. He got the crush off, and Ramsey's looked to try and survive. He does actually have Solo in the neighborhood, just on the other side of the hill. They put down some vision too, so they can play this properly. Ohio thinking about coming into the battle, but moves back to his Tier 1 tower. Even this is still not perfectly safe, not with that Mango charge available.
Yeah, he has to be especially careful around
Oh, they did it. There's the Mango. Telekinesis pick him up from around Ohio, holding on to the sprint. He can't get away in time. So Ohio will drop. Febby moves over. He's underneath the Radiant Sentry Wall, so Solo potentially could find this, but Mushi being there as well does not allow that to be a kill in favor of Virtus.pro.
Oh, that leaves Omni a lot of space up on that top lane. And a lot of small items coming into play. The Mango, the Fairy Fire earlier. I like the early game coming out from both teams.
I'm wondering if this rotation as well for Mushi would have happened at the same time. The panel was talking about it where safe laners would start to abandon lanes a little bit earlier.
I think you want your armlet a little bit before, or at least you'll get like a track gold kill out of it. I think the kill would have happened regardless. Febby was already right on top of him.
So then the trade-off is the Lina gets early level 6. Like, she's almost got it anyway. But having that burst damage will keep Omni Knight just a little bit more on his toes. Tyra is scanning in the trees. They're looking for Virtus.pro, who are walking under the cover of smoke. So Lil and Solo coming in close, but Ohio's position is perfect. So Solo, smoke breaks on him, a quick crush, Mushi in the neighborhood, Rubik goes, the Tusk is grabbed, the kick flies through, Lifestealer still hasn't raged up, he has the infest for the pop damage, but with Ramsey in the neighborhood, Mushi already finds the kill, Ramsey starts off the spin. But Mushi and Ohio are already bailing out. So Ramsey gets a little bit of farm from the side camp, but that is all.
Trying to be really greedy with that rage there. And I think the Lina getting
mid, no one's imprisonment's on cooldown for the moment, so they could have a crack at this. With the help coming in from Ohio, yep, there is actually the imprisonment taking out the Slaughter, but the damage is already too much. Ohio got the mist off beforehand, so no one drops very quickly.
They weren't able to TP in with the Omni Knight in time. He's actually foregone getting Guardian Angel at level 6 in favor of 2 points in degen. I think their lineup is like very heavy physical base aside from the Lina. I think the Guardian Angel is going to be pretty important for them.
Need to give him that time, that space, but for the moment Solo's taking that space which Omni Knight opened up on the top lane. Support's coming back in the form of the Omni Knight. But this seems to be a pretty damn good start for Fnatic. Everything's going to start to click pretty soon. In Your Dream is farming at not a great rate, but he'll still catch up. It's that Juggernaut who just has more net worth than anyone else on the field at the moment.
They really need the Slaughter to get his Blink Dagger though. I think even if they have track, it's still going to be very difficult for them to find kills just because Omni Knight and OD will be sitting behind targets that Fnatic are focusing down, and they have a lot of single target damage, especially with the Lifesteal and the TA, Amplify, all this is single target. So with the Slaughter, they can set up multiple kills and just make the kills instantaneous so that VP can't react in time.
Maybe that's where we watch Mushi a little bit closer now. He completes up the armlet, and Bounty Hunter is already making his way over. So they can infest combo, look for a bit of an opening, and that's exactly what happens. And their target, it's got to be the bottom lane. Like, Lil is the one who's amplified up. I think he's also realizing too, this is around that time where the attack comes to the tier 1 tower on bot.
They also might have
dodging
been under the T1 or under that ward. I think it caught the edge of him.
Yeah, from that position, it most definitely did.
Yeah, but now they can just sit around with the buddy system. Notice all of VP are moving towards the top lane right now. They sense a gank coming out, and you get this one kill up, you'll get Bounty Hunter level 6, and then it'll just continue to feed. So now they just need to group up. This is where their lineup shines. Omni Knight sitting in the back, they have Arcane Boots on him.
As long as they can get a good trade-off. Like, you push 5 men up to the top lane, and Fnatic, well, they didn't find the opening they wanted, but you've still got that early, like, it's just the casual Blightstone over on the TA, but you bring the mid-tower down to half-life. Don't find the opening straight up, but it's creating space now for Ohio on the bottom lane to, like, he's looking towards Trez to start with, but he's also going to get the Blink Dagger. So it's a tier 1 tower on the top lane claimed by Virtus.pro. And they brought enough people to mid lane that they've actually dissuaded from Fnatic from pushing any harder.
Yep. And we also see the early Helmut Dominator coming out from the Juggernaut. Looks like he's just dominated a siege creep up for now, but as the opponents mentioned, the ice armor from the Ogre is very, very useful in this game. Probably one of the most useful creeps. If you can find one. It's really hard to get the creep that you want now. There's like similar amounts of like medium camp spawns, but they spawn like half as often.
Oh, Solo didn't last very long. They waited for the right time and just crushed him out. Now it's Pasha who's stranded a little bit. With track now being up for Febby too, the vision gets even better. The gold, every time these kills happen, it's even more rewarding for Fnatic. But now Lil turns on the Magnetite Templar Assassin. She needs more life. One charge won't be enough. Bottle charge as well with refracted charges. She'll survive. Pasha turns on the Guardian Angel, and with the Magnetite, they still have enough damage to Purification. No higher! Barely out! Lina will die in the meantime, up on the top lane. Mushi trying to track down Ramsey to use the Omni Slash to get the kill. But he bails out as action happens on multiple lanes.
Pasha played that one really well, and so did Lil. They almost got the TA before her refraction came up, but TA, really nice position there. She almost got the Omni Knight with the splash.
But that's still your TA going down. The OD starts to extend his lead with that Hand of Midas he had about 2 minutes ago.
I don't think it's that problematic that TA goes down, because she has track gold, and I think it's more problematic that the Omni Knight didn't die. Like, he's the one that you want to focus down in the fights. The more items he has, the more grievous your fights are going to be. Every time you're going to go for him, if he has like Greaves and Force Staff, it's just going to be impossible to kill him, and then you have this OD and Juggernaut just raining hell upon your team.
Lil trying to kick away the Templar Assassin and find these kills quickly. Rolling boulders back in again. Lina is here. Laguna Blade, he can't do it. Currently silenced up. The OD imprisonment actually saving the support. The Light Strike Array will still connect, but Lil is healthy, and they're looking for Yamate. He has retreated back behind the tier 1 tower, but VP here in force all 5 members of their team.
They're very aggressive with their dusting. They like dust every time an engagement comes out, just expecting the bounty hunter to be there. So, like Febby, it's doing a good job of not dying as much as they could have.
Ramsey CP's up to the top lane just to hold the tier 1 tower. They already knew they were going to get the mid one. That does go in favor of no one on that OD.
This gank is very underwhelming. The bounty hunter plus the lifestealer. Like, they can probably kill a Rubik, but most of the other heroes can just pop their defensive cooldown and run away. It really needs Slardar.
This is the opening that we're really looking for. So you start with the attack, trying to bait out the track, the repel to stop the track.
Yeah, they know there's no way that he would pop out unless that he was with someone. So they know the lifestealers at least around that area. Ohio still 400 gold away from his Blink Dagger. Yamate trying to pick up an easy kill into a tower down in this bottom lane with that usage of the smoke.
Solo was also looking for, well, to stay alive more than anything else. He went back into mid lane to take the farm and the experience, but he almost walked into that bounty hunter track. Well, there goes your tier 1 tower on bottom lane. Goes in favor of Mushi. So there's still a small advantage going the way of Virtus.pro.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Open up the map, expose those tier 2 towers and potentially the shrines.
It's still going to be a while for that, especially Ramses is out of control in terms of CS. And the Lifestealer's sat in the creeps a lot, so he's actually falling a little bit behind. He had his armlet at a pretty decent timing, but they haven't just been able to connect on kills. Ohio finally has his Blink Dagger.
Yeah, now's that timing to come
Oh,
up.
he's right under Observer Ward though in the mid lane. They know exactly where he is and what he has.
That one was planted down before when VP were pushing the mid lane. Lil as well as Pasha, they're in position. Lil gonna rolling boulder himself forward, going in, gets that silence off. Refraction Charger soaking up a lot, so in your dream, gets back over the hillside and far away enough with Yamate hitting that Light Strike Array. They do keep no one out. Damn, that hit is so hard over on Lil. But Pasha still in the neighborhood. They group up around in your dream. They're looking for a little bit more stuns. He actually finds one of the kills for the Templar Assassin is lost. Slardar in the meantime died down in the Radiant jungle. That was in the backline as that fight split into multiple parts. And Mushi not really involved as he finished up his farm with bottom lane and TP's out to safety too.
Solo trying to play some Observer Ward, but he gets caught out.
Yamate's got Laguna Blade. If he actually gets enough damage, he can just pop him. But the OD imprisonment, again, no one is in the greatest positions ever just to save teammate after teammate.
Yeah, Febby kind of chickened out because he was amped up that entire time.
And now they 5-man maneuver again. Virtus.pro together.
Yeah, they have so many failsafes versus target initiation from fnatic. Omni Knight's only died in a laning phase. He has a 4-staff now too to counter the Slardar plus Lifestealer and Fest Bomb without even having to use Repel or Heal. So this is quite troublesome for Fnatic. I don't really know how they're supposed to approach these fights. Like, Ramsey's out in front. What are they going to do to him with the Omni Knight sitting behind him? And he has Spin just in case. And on top of that, they have a lot of sustain from the Helmet Dominator aura, the healing ward if they need to.
And the damage isn't really huge enough from Fnatic anyway. Like, you've now got a Dragonlance as opposed to the Desolator build over from the Templar Assassin.
Yeah, they just need a little bit more time for TA. Maybe try and sneak in a Roche really quickly with the amp. I think that's probably what they need to focus on very, very soon. They still have 3 of their outer towers left, so there's not any imminent danger for them. They just need to make sure that they don't feed away a couple of team fights so that VP's in a position to do Roche. They need to prevent that at all costs.
A little bit of a maneuver. They had some vision in the mid lane, VP, but I don't know if they actually cottoned on to what Fnatic were doing. They grouped up as 4 behind where the tier 1 tower used to be Fnatic in the mid lane.
Solo, looks like he popped the smoke on Febby. Febby has a re-invis. I think he might have been in vision. Doesn't look like there's anything there.
No Observer was, but they move over. Blink, crushing for that early pop. But Pasha there with the GA plus the heal. It's Ohio that takes all the damage. As Lil was protected once again by the Astral Imprisonment. Then he gets a double kick. He found the bounty. They don't know about the bounty, but they do know about Yamate, who starts to run around the tree lines. Looks for another Light Strike Array with the Laguna Blade. They trigger off and pop Lil. Febby had to commit for this. Now he does have Invis available. That detection, Sentry wards are on Solo. He doesn't have Dust available with the Telekinesis pickup. They have more than enough control to kill him before he can get into that Invis and away to safety.
not that bad of a trade for Fnatic. They were very patient. If they went under that T1, they would have lost like 3 to 4 heroes very, very quickly because Omni Knight was just hiding in the trees, and they waited for VP to come into their positioning with their bottom wards. However, I still think Roshan needs to be key for Fnatic. They're just looking for any sort of opening they can get. They're not really getting ahead in terms of track kills. Their cores aren't farming particularly well compared to the Radiant counterparts. So it's going to be a pressing time for the next 5 minutes to try and regain any sort of hold in the game.
It's going to be pretty hard to take out Roshan, however. Like, you haven't taken the tier 1 tower in mid or top, plus that shrine is so close to Roshan for the Radiant side.
I think they can just use a smoke for it. With Amp, it's really, really fast. Probably less than 10 seconds if they can just find that brief moment.
Speaking of smoke, that's exactly what VP
Yeah, they're expecting it. But if VP do Roche, I think Fnatic are in a really, really terrible spot.
Yeah. And they need some way to see it. Like, Yamate's only getting down the Observer and Sentry now. That wouldn't have helped. Actually, they commit a second. They commit a second second smoke, because the Observer ward saw in your dream moving over towards Roshan. They had a Sentry down, so Mel was not going to protect him.
Wow, that was a crazy play from them. Smoking into Roche, centering to make sure that there's not a TA trap, and then smoking out as Fnatic are trying to get in. Now they get a TA kill and a Roche. It was at the cost of 2 smokes, but I think Roshan is so important to Fnatic that VP can expend those resources and feel very good about it.
And it just doesn't hurt as much for VP because you've got that Corrosive Haze over on Solo that he managed to steal from the Slardar. So Fnatic, yeah, you take a tier 2 tower on bottom lane, but trade-off wise, you don't lose that much time in Roshan.
Yeah, I think with this, they can just keep killing the TA in the fights over and over. Like, Amplify only does so much. Refraction only does so much versus like the Earth Spirit and the Juggernaut Spin. Like, just so many instances of damage in the 5-man team fights that's not going to be able to keep her alive. And she's a long way away from BKB. I don't even know if you can go BKB right now on the TA.
Where you just turn into full aggression with the Blink Dagger?
I think you just have to go Blink so you can farm up more and get maybe some easy kills on the Rubik, perhaps.
Or maybe then you can start combining it with the Lifestealer. The Lifestealer finished up his first damage dealing item with the Desolator and still has another 1400-ish gold for Mushi.
Yeah. It's just really tough for the TA to actually... You can get like 1 Mel Strike off, and then after that you're probably just going to die.
Yeah. Then the Lifestealer's got to do the work, finish the job.
Yeah. They also need more armor on the Radiant side. I don't see any Vlads. I do see a Buckler on the Omni Knight. I guess the mech will help a decent amount, but any sort of armor is going to help. They just need to survive like the initial Blink Crush and Rage from the Lifestealer. After the first Rage is done, Fnatic, if they haven't gotten like 2 or 3 kills in the fight, things are just going to go from bad to worse.
I'm a little concerned for Mushi, who seems to be the sore thumb sticking out for Fnatic. Top net worth for them, but no TP scroll until he gets over to this side shop. And VP are just barreling down the middle. They take out the tier 2 tower. It's a bit of a roam around. In fact, is this going to be our first courier snipe for ESL One? Nope, it isn't.
We'll fly over.
Febby's too far away. It's flying a little further north.
But they're already at the T3s, and they have shrines here, but I don't think the shrines are going to be enough for them to hold this.
You're missing Blink Crushers, letting track be stolen as well by Solo, so he's starting to track up all of Fnatic. The tier 3 tower down to 200, 100, and make it almost 0. In fact, it is now 0. The tower is lost. And what do you get in return? A tier 1 tower up on top?
He's just looking for that Blink Crush, but Omni Knight, if he steps slightly out of position, maybe they can jump.
Be careful with Ramsey's life. He does have that mana style, so if he wants to go for the pro dodge, that's also a possibility. But Fnatic, they just don't want to commit to this. They still don't have Mushi. Mushi is up on the top lane. He hasn't come back yet, so they trigger off the Guardian Angel. VP almost able to bring down that melee Rax. They're harassing up against Fnatic, and now with another Son of the Juggernaut, Ramsey's very, very low. Odium Prism comes out, now he jumps forward. Quick Manta, and actually it's just a hit all over the bounty, so he'll drop down low. Yamate is on the run. Lifestealer Mushi got perfectly kicked. The controller's there from Lil. The setup from no one as well as the saving is perfect from him too. The mid-rack's already gone. The blink, oh, the pickup! He actually got telekinesis. He'll probably die as well as he comes out of the imprisonment. No, high goes the one charges off, so he survives an extra fraction of a second longer, but then still, the result is the same. It is death for the Slardar. A buyback now out from him. TA will complete her own Desolator. So having that little bit of extra damage in for this fight, start the tracks, but it's going both ways from both Solo as well as Febby.
And VP, they back out for a little bit. They can turn and fight if they want to. Ohio slipping around the side. He's got a presence sitting inside him at the moment, waiting for a pop out. But VP, there's just no vision on them for fnatic to really go for any kind of initiation. Now they're close to that observer ward. They've got more to work with. So the blink crush over on Lil, the pop out, very quick kill. The force staff wasn't enough from Rubik to buy enough space, and maybe he'll lose his own life. As Ohio needs that movement speed, the sprint's gonna wear off. The Fade Bolt actually puts his blink on cooldown. Ohio couldn't reach up to Solo. Now they blink crush forward, so Solo will eventually drop. And fnatic, they at least get a couple of kills, but they've still lost their mid-racks.
I think that last fight next to the T3 kind of shows how important instant cast is in this. I think a lot of the small changes in 7.0 were like making things more projectile-based, like Atos is projectile-based now instead of just being instant cast. And that like fraction of a second, it doesn't sound like that much, but when Rubik has lower cast point than Slaughter and he has really fast reflexes and can just lift them before the stun, like your initiation just goes completely down the drain. Or if Juggernaut manages to spin out of the Slithering Crush. Like all these small things just make fnatic's lineup way more difficult to execute. And Lina is kind of, her cast point is like extremely long. How is she supposed to combo one of these guys unless Slaughter sets it up beautifully for her? But that's kind of the problem I see inherently in fnatic's lineup. Everything relies on the Slardar for most of the mid-early game.
Or even then, like the initiation target that Slaughter wants to go on. How do you do that when the Omni-Knight sits behind the lineup the entire time? The person you initiate on is either going to get repelled or purified, or both, depending which one's going to be better at the time.
Yeah.
So even that burst combo, like even if you do get the blink crush off, if TA had a blink deck to jump in, Yamate follows up with a big burst damage from Laguna Blade, all of that could be negated and you've lost your combination and you haven't got a kill for all your efforts.
I think that's one thing that's cool about VP's lineup though, is that even if you first ban SD versus them, they still don't need the SD to win, just because a lot of the heroes is very similar to SD. I think like the OD with the defensive Astral, very similar to the Disruption. You don't get illusions, but it still serves the same purpose and saving people. And same with the Omni Knight. If you don't give them the Shadow Demon, they'll just take one or even two of these heroes and fulfill a very, very similar purpose and defensive single target. So I think drafts that tend more towards just more AoE. I like, for example, like silencers that we see a lot of the Chinese teams pick up, that it's much easier to initiate and you don't feel like you're going to get countered as hard when you go in.
Ramsey's trying to look for an opening there on Mushi. Mushi, into the tree lines. He has his range, hasn't triggered it yet, and now he actually knows he won't survive. The silence is up, and Mushi will die in the tree lines. Whereas VP bringing everyone down there to kill him off.
Sandy these eclipse for good measure. A little bit unnecessary. Unnecessary roughness.
Even have Octarine, it doesn't even like the lower cooldown or anything like that.
He has a ton of armor. He's not going to die in these fights with 35 armor.
That's the +5 armor he gets from his second wave of talent tree at level 15.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice.
It's also funny to watch Solo running around with his +50 damage he got at level 10, plus having refraction, so he hits about 180 a pop, just coming out from a support Rubik. Oh, well, there's confidence. Talked about that one at the start with the panel, and then the perfect kick setting up on Yamate. Has to use his Yule Scepter defensively, and there's just one quick hit from Ramses. Even committed the Fusel Blade charge just in case. End up killing off the Lina. Buyback is available, but your bottom rack is lost.
Dire structures are fortified.
Yeah, not much left for Fnatic to do at this point.
They're going to commit. The buyback comes in. Ohio tries to slip around. They're looking for the back lines. They're looking for those supports. And then, well, with a 4-star forward, Ramses is very, very low. And this Blink Rush from Ohio, it hits on 3 with the jump out, but the kick from Lil in the perfect timing. There was no way to really follow up with the slander. Mushi is trying to do his work, but he's got no other help. He's surrounded by 5 heroes. Inner Dream finally comes out of the imprisonment, and maybe they have enough damage, but no, it is actually going to be the Slave that gets a little bit, but Femi is dropped. TA will buy back, but the game is over. Virtus.pro, confidence, control, and destruction. Fnatic will lose their first round game here in the group stage.
I really like the Earth Spirit play from Lil. I think the way he moved around in the early game and tried to help out his team, secured all the lanes, just slowed Fnatic's game down to the point where VP could group up and take this game.
And this is
This is a fantastic team. We knew VP were going to enjoy this patch. It's kind of up their alley. It's like, hey, have a ticket to go and gank whatever you want to. You've said to Lil, have an Earth Spirit, then a whole bunch of shrines which are going to let your offlaner as well as you or whoever actually have this quick regeneration to just keep going and never having to go really back to base at any point. Be aggressive and get rewarded for it. And he did. He got 16 assists and his 1 kill out of the 23 that were in VP's side.
Yes, and VP doesn't even have to draft any differently for this patch.
He really don't. That was a commanding performance from Virtus.pro to start off their ESL One Genting trip. And fnatic, well, it's a new roster. Of course, they're going to take a little bit of time to get used to everything and try and find their comfort zone. But well, you always expect them to play something different, and I'll look forward to see them later on today. But for now, we'll have ourselves a short break, and we'll go back to the panel after that.
All right, I am here with Lil of VP taking the first game for ESL One Genting. Lil, I'm sure what everyone really wants to know is, and congratulations on your win, by the way, how do you guys feel with this new patch? Do you feel stronger? Does it make you, did it frustrate you? How does everyone feel? How does VP feel with this new patch?
Actually, we are not feeling such strong as Boston Major, but we are confident. But I don't know. We'll see.
Why do you feel not as strong compared to Boston? What has affected you in terms of you guys feeling that way as a team?
I think because this is not Dota2, this is Dota3. It's just another game, another meta, another heroes, another everything.
Okay, really quick. Right now, what do you feel is more important, farming or fighting? Like, is roaming a little bit more effective? How do you guys feel with those basic things? Like you said, it's a new game.
I think roaming is very important in this meta, and there are a lot of waste outs actually. You can farm, you can def your high ground, you can roaming, you can snowball, you can push towers, anything. Just how do you like it?
Okay, but you said roaming definitely something is part of the meta for this new patch.
Yeah, it's pretty hard because roaming skills are, I think, it's very hard stuff because you should know when and where you should be at every moment of the game, and that's hard because like first 10 minutes, it's such an important time when you should do all things to win.
Yes.
And if you fail a little, you can just easily lose the game.
Very, very nice, great input. What do you hate about this new patch?
Monkey.
Who agrees? Raise their hand. Who agrees with that? All right, see, everyone pretty much agrees. So, hey, but you guys did good. You won the, of course, first match of the tournament. Congratulations on that, and good luck to you. VP, Lil, taking, congratulations, Virtus.pro.
Yes, congratulations, Virtus.pro, coming through safely against a tricky match, potentially, of course, against fnatic. But in the end, Kevin, it was kind of what we predicted, wasn't it?
I mean, I expected them to win, but I didn't think it was going to be that semi-close, and then all of a sudden the game ended. But that's really what Omni Knight does. You just keep people alive. They did this really slow siege thing, and it was very difficult for fnatic to actually get the kills.
A little bit different, Kat, to what you thought? In the way that the style was played out, or
No.
exactly as you forecast?
Oh, well, maybe I mean, a part of that is because of the opening of Slaughter Lifestealer. I think that's a very aggressive combination, and naturally, VP knows how to play that, and they know how to counter it, right? So maybe VP's heroes were a little bit more defensive than I expected out of them, but it's just because of that opening, right? I think it was very clear that they won the draft, particularly, the Omni Knight is good, yes, but there are some big downsides to Omni Knight, but I think the OD in particular, like allowing that to be picked up last pick, there's no other mid that can do what OD does for you. Like, there's no other mid that can actively save heroes that are gone on like he does. So I think that was very clearly one of the big draft losses for fnatic.
That being said, Pasha played an amazing Omni Knight throughout that game, and you know, we talk about it being defensively, but I actually just, you know, they play these defensive heroes, but they play them offensively.
Yes.
And they, as I said before going into the game, would probably just look to end it around the 20-minute mark, which was exactly what happened.
You're so good, Jacob.
Thank you.
You are. We'll bow to you, Jacob. Your masteries.
This is a big fight where they really needed to win it. They finally initiate. Even the mech alone there just healed Rubik for so much HP, but they had to jump on somebody and kill them, but having the healing ward there and Omni and the OD save and the Manta finally on the Jug, it just gave them like 5 levels deep where fnatic knew they had one good chance to take a fight, and if they didn't get a kill, the game was over, and that's what happened.
For me, that team fight, I think, said a lot about both teams. I think it showed a lot. I was really admiring the fact that VP were willing to go high ground like that and not choose to push out that bottom lane, take the tier 1, take the tier 2, go for shrines. I think that was important because splitting up and potentially like pushing out that lane opens up the other lanes to be pushed out. Maybe naturally you get split pushed or something, and then you naturally break apart, and that's where the pickoffs start coming in. They realize we're strong enough just to be able to go high ground now. As long as we stay together, we can do this. And then I think the other thing was about that team fight was the fact that fnatic, they seemed a bit lost, and they really did not seem to have a game plan on how to be able to combat that. It was only at the bottom lane engagement where they finally got a rotation from the Slardar, but by then it was too late. I think they very clearly lacked a game plan on how to be able to stop this push. Maybe they just didn't expect the high ground push, but you needed to actively push into this team and not just let them siege into your tier 3.
When we assess fnatic's first game, and it is only one game after all, how do you feel that they played, considering they had very little time together? It wasn't too bad early game. Admittedly, the team fight didn't go quite the way they would have wanted to turn in. I agree with you, they lacked that kind of game plan, but that was a solid performance enough.
I thought Dream was playing perfectly well. He did well early game. He got an early killing spree. He did his job. They just didn't have the draft to actually snowball the way they wanted to, and they had this pretty dead hero, especially with how VP played it. The bounty hunter just didn't offer anything, because every time they were pushing, they would just preemptively use a dust to ensure that if he was there, he'd be caught out. So it's an impossible task for Febby to do anything.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like their early roaming was great. They did a lot of good rotations with Slaughter moving around trying to help the lanes, but their cores weren't just passively farming as fast as VPs were. I was a little surprised they were more behind, but compared to a Jug, you know, a Lifestealer doesn't really farm as fast. He has to pick up like an armlet, and then even then you're not going to farm as fast as a hero like Juggernaut or even like OD. So.
And they were at a tower disadvantage as well, and that's, you know, that's what Juggernaut does. He has that healing ward, and you can just assemble as 5, and their lineup was just not suited to do anything about it. They could blow up the Omni Knight. They'd have to blow up the Omni Knight in their combo every single time if they wanted to win any of those engagements. And Pasha just played it superbly.
We've got some updates, of course, to come from the other game, which is going on right now. Of course, MP versus Newbie, also in Group A simultaneously. Our next games are coming from Group B. Before we get there, though, there is another member of our broadcast team that we haven't yet met today. He is the mischievous Sir Action Slack. So let's check in with him right now and find out what mischief he's up to.
Shut up, Red Eye. There's something coming. There's something coming through the mist, and it's getting closer. It's running towards. Oh my God! Is that Dota fans? Dota fans through the mist. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome. Welcome to ESL Genting. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Fine. What was your name?
KJ.
KJ, and sir?
Dash.
Dash. Hello. Well, you dashed right up there, up that mountain, dude. How did you get up here? We're at the top of the mountain. The clouds are on top of us.
Obviously, I TP.
TP up from there. Fantastic. Good job. What are you most excited to see here at the top of this mountain, sir?
I think it's you.
Oh, yeah? See me?
Yeah.
That's very disappointing. You've already done it already. So, what about teams? Who do you want to see win this thing?
Newbie.
Newbie, my boy, my boy. Hoping to see anything in particular, boss?
Newbie as well.
Newbie as well. All right, boys. Well, let's go into the mist and see if we can't get Newbie to win this thing. Come on, boy.
Okay then. Sir Action Slack's up to his usual trickery outside. He's going to be roaming around, so do keep an eye out for him if you are here. We are moving on to a break, of course, but we do have another match coming up very shortly. Just a quick shout out for one of our sponsors. They pour the money in, of course, make these events possible. Windows 10, the best ever Windows for gaming. Also, after the break, we have a big match. It's moving on. It's time to see whether Execration can step up their game as they find out their first opponents in game number 1 of Group B. We'll be back after this.